What a time to be a One Piece fan. Like, my favorite arc has always been Marineford War. Obviously, Enies Lobby's also competing in that. But after Wano became the greatest arc for me personally. Now, I have sleeper arcs like Fishman Island. Fishman Island will always be in my top 5 because of Fisher Tiger and Otehime's flashback. Just amazing. And the way it ended with Jinbei and Luffy sharing blood. Then, of course, Skypiea gets better over time. And if you skip Skypiea, that's one of your biggest L's. But I'm going to keep it real, guys. Egghead is not even finished, and I think that Egghead Island arc is probably the best One Piece arc, and the Egghead incident hasn't even begun, the incident that changes the entire landscape of the final saga, guys. So it's just crazy. Look at this arc, guys. We get a dragon and Vegapunk flashback to Ohara. That was so cool to see. We also get Luffy versus Lucci. Luffy in his Gear 5th form, Lucci in his awakened Zoan form, which I thought was crazy. We get Vegapunk just explaining the Delphoid abilities, and that was something that we were always waiting to see. It's one of the mysteries I made a long time ago, years ago. I made a top 15 mysteries, and Delphoid's being explained was one of those mysteries. Of course, we also got crazy fights like Law versus Blackbeard, which was so fun. We got Eustace Kid versus Shanks, which just took over the One Piece community in like chapter 1076, and then finally in chapter 1079, the divine departure that left Eustace Kid's career done. Then of course is Garp versus Aokiji, Apprentice versus of course Teacher, and then of course we got Caruso, Morley versus the Admirals. And honestly, seeing Green Bull and Fujitora fight because of Fujitora freeing the slaves that the revolutionaries let escape, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I gotta say, I love Fujitora as a character. Then, of course, we had Dragon revealing the God Knights. And, of course, now we have Sabo, Cobra, the Willa D, and, of course, fighting Imu and Gorosei. Like, Imu and Gorosei, we always wanted to see the Gorosei fight. Like, that's way longer than Imu. We didn't even know Imu existed when we were talking about how strong the Gorosei actually are. Like, you could see videos on my channel going years back of me discussing the Gorosei strength from like years ago. And now we're seeing them actually fight. It kind of reminds me of seeing Roger fight. It just doesn't, like, if you're a One Piece fan and you made it to this point, guys, because there's so many One Piece fans who have passed away, it is an honor to see these moments we've been speculating for so long, guys. So yeah, Ichiro Oda, you need to be stopped right now because you're on a GOAT path. Like Final Saga, you are not sleeping, guys. He's like on some Blackbeard stuff, guys. Moo, seeing Imu talk in third person, calling Imu Moo, like that was just so cool to see. Of course, anyone who talks in third person is just interesting in anime and manga. I do gotta say this, like, it's crazy to see like how pretty much cold Imu is. Like, you can feel the coldness in Imu's dialogue and talking about the Void Century, and this is a tough character. And of course, Cobra exposes Imu as one of the original 20 kings from the Void Century that founded the world's government. So Imu's confirmed to be at least 800 to 900 years, maybe even 1,000 years old. We do not know how long, even maybe longer. We just don't know how long Imu's been, of course, alive in the One Piece world. But for someone living that long, we already know Imu is a monster. You can't live that long without being a monster. Cobra then says Neftari D. Lily, revealing that the Alabasta Kingdom, the royals of that kingdom, are a part of the Willa D. Cobra and of course Vivi are all part of the Willa D. So we got a new family that's a part of the Willa D, which is always cool to see, which is always hype. And Imu took that personal, guys. You see the title, Imu and the Gorosei's powers, guys. Imu took that personal and sent a shadow arrow from Imu's eyes, Imsama, instant messenger, whatever you want to call this character that sits on the empty throne. The Sharingan getting, like, it kind of reminded me of like back in Naruto when you see someone use a Sharingan or a Rinnegan to do an attack. I won't lie, it was pretty hype. I'm a Naruto fan, so seeing him like show the eye panning into, of course, the arrow going into Cobra, I thought it was cool, guys. Now, Cobra is not a legit fighter, but it was still cool to see Imu's powers. It was honestly fun. We also can't forget Sabo is the chief of staff with advanced armor haki and a newly Logia ability, Ace's ability, the Mare no Mi. And of course, Sabo hits the Gorosei with the Fire Fist, and of course Imsama as well. And they look relatively fine after this, honestly. The Gorosei get hit with the Fire Fist. and I'll be honest with you, they look relatively fine. You see Sabo say Rook's Gambit after it's doing the Fire Fist, and of course it goes towards Im, and Im does some crazy eye technique that stops the fire. Like, Im is just looking like some Kaguya Madara, like just some crazy final villain, honestly. Like, I was always how to say this, I was always a skeptic of Im's power and ability and how strong Im is. I'm gonna be honest with you, whether it's a Kainu, Blackbeard, Shanks, Dragon, whoever, Kaido, whoever you think, even Luffy right now, Im looks like top 1 in the verse. I won't lie to you guys. And it makes sense, yo. Kaido said it best when he was talking to his people. He said, people rule with an iron fist, like the strongest rule. And Im being the strongest just makes so much sense. And being from the Void Century and Im defeating Joy Boy or winning, regardless if Im beats Joy Boy or not, Im survived past and Joy Boy didn't. Roger, and I'm thinking how would Roger do against Im Sama in a fight? I'm thinking how will end of story Luffy do against Im Sama in a fight? There's so many different possibilities with Im's powers. I might be jumping the gun, but I'm excited, guys. I'm truly excited. Sabo then confirms the Gorosei to be very hellish looking, or he doesn't say Gorosei, but he says the top of when it comes to the world government to be hellish looking. Who would have expected it? And we see the Gorosei silhouettes, and I think it's Im Sama silhouette. Someone in the comment section correct me if I'm wrong, with that big one on the staircase, on the stairs, is that Im Sama or is that one of the Gorosei? I thought it was Im Sama, but I might be wrong. It might be one of the Gorosei because I see 4 silhouettes there. But regardless, with the silhouettes and Oda and all that, I gotta keep it real, guys. They look to be Zoans, so we've seen a lot of Zoans in the One Piece verse, but it's crazy because Egghead Island kind of hyped up Zoans with Lucci versus Luffy. Wano kind of hyped up Zoans, of course, with the Beast Pirates versus Luffy with his mythical Zoan, of course, Yamato with their mythical Zoan, Kaido, of course, with his mythical Zoan, Orochi. Like, mythical Zoans are getting a lot of hype. Marco was in that arc. Of course, Sengoku was a fleet admiral with a mythical Zoan. Like, having a mythical Zoan looks to be legit. Of course, the strongest offensive Devil Fruit is a Logia with Akainu, but and of course Sabo is a Logia who's going up against all these Zoans, Gorosei and Im Sama. Now, of course, it's not confirmed they have Zoan abilities. It could be a Paramecia. Like, people all thought that Caruso was a Zoan, and of course that revealed to be, I think, a Paramecia, a Suit Fruit, or a Logia, I believe, actually, as the Suit Fruit. Regardless, though, the Gorosei are looking like mythical Zoans, and it makes sense. Nika, honestly, it's crazy. And I won't lie to you guys, when I saw the Gorosei and Im Sama chasing down Sabo and Cobra, I laughed a little bit. The reason why I laughed is because it looks so weird. It just looks so weird. And I just thought about the memes of how Oda always does these silhouettes. And just off these silhouettes, we don't know how the Gorosei and Im Sama look. Don't get me wrong, we've seen a lot of silhouettes turn out to be something completely different, even like recently with the God Knights. So honestly, we don't know how the Gorosei and Im Sama look. They could have some crazy badass designs. They could have some funny, goofy looking designs. Right now from the silhouettes, they look super goofy, but I'm gonna give some hope that Oda will give a couple of them some badass designs. And of course, I do gotta say this, Im Sama with his huge eyes, or her huge eyes. Honestly, I think Im Sama is a man now that Cobra confirmed Im Sama to be a king from the 20 Kings. Of course, that started the world government. I think Im Sama might be a king. I could be wrong though. Honestly, if they do the plot twist of Im Sama being like Neftari, Im Sama like being the husband of Lily, I don't know what they're gonna do with Im Sama, honestly. But I think Im Sama was just crazy with the silhouette, just highlighted and being bigger than all the Gorosei, and the Gorosei bowing down to Im Sama. I just wonder who's gonna fight these characters. Like, there's the God Knights, and now we got Gorosei and Im Sama. They all look strong, and we don't have enough. The Revolutionary Armies and the Yonkos have to team up. I don't know what's gonna happen, but honestly, Luffy, I wouldn't be surprised if Luffy has to take on a majority of these characters. Now, this is where a lot of conversation is gonna start. Sabo. Sabo gets hit by this arrow, and he's a Logia user. We know that now that the arrow is either coated with Haki to, of course, bypass Sabo's Logia ability, or it negates Sabo's Logia. And let's be honest here, regardless, that's broken, because if it negates it, it's on the same level as Yami Yami no Mi Blackbeard. Might even be better, because Blackbeard hasn't done he needs to grab you to negate you. And then, of course, we have the situation of being coated with Haki, which just makes Im Sama a Haki beast, a Haki specialist with, of course, a Zoan ability, or whatever Delphin ability that Im has, or even it might not even be a Delphin ability. It might be based off the Delphin ability. I'm not too sure. There's so many different theories. I feel like that guy who has the net thread and needles, and he's just so stressed out. That's how I feel, guys. Honestly, like, this chapter really got me stressed out when it comes to the Gorosei's powers and the Im Sama's powers. There's so many video ideas I can make just off this one chapter, and Oda built this flashback splendidly. Now, after reading this chapter, there's one character I need to see go at it with them. The character who's hearing this all, guys, Monkey D. Dragon, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, the most wanted man, because now we got Imsama and, of course, the Gorosei's powers being told to Dragon. So Dragon now knows what he's going up against when it comes to the world government. And Dragon, he has to be OP. He's the father of Luffy, the son of Garp. He's in his prime. I think Dragon is going to be incredibly powerful. Like, honestly, I want to see what Dragon pulls out, because he needs to pull out something like that can counteract these characters' powers. Now, the Gorosei, they might be like, how to say this, Admiral level, maybe, how to say this, maybe like Vice Captain and Emperor level, maybe Yonko level. I'm not too sure, maybe even above that, regardless of how powerful they are. What I'm worried about for Monkey D. Dragon is Imu, because I want to see Dragon versus Imu, and Imu looks to be broken the way that Imu dealt with the Vice Captain to the Revolutionary Sabo. Imu could be super broken right now, honestly. Now, I'm not saying that Imu's gonna pack out Monkey D. Dragon, but it's a fight I want to see, guys. It's truly a fight I want to see. And then I think about moments where, like, honestly, this chapter is a moment where I think about Shanks meeting the Gorosei, and like, Shanks is the Haki master, and Shanks should know how powerful the Gorosei are now, because knowing the, of course, Haki, you can power scale with Haki. Like, you can tell if someone's weak or strong with Haki. So Shanks should know that the Gorosei are monsters, honestly. And Shanks is a monster in himself. So that was a cool dynamic now looking at it after this chapter. And then, of course, the dynamic of Akainu arguing with the Gorosei, and the Gorosei telling him not to talk to us. Of course, don't forget who we are. We're, of course, celestial dragons. And maybe, like, honestly, Akainu in that situation, like, he probably knows how strong the Gorosei are too with his Haki ability. So it's just crazy to look at the perspective of how the Gorosei are monsters now. Like, we've always knew it, but to see the confirmation in this chapter, literally hellish monsters, that's what Sabo said. It's so fun for, of course, one being a One Piece fan right now. Now, of course, the biggest thing I want to talk about is Saturn and Kizaru at Egghead, of course, because there's an Egghead incident that's going to change the final saga. And there's these hellish creatures we see. Honestly, Saturn now, it looks to be Saturn is a hellish creature, a monster, a Zoan of some sort. And we know Luffy's a Zoan too, so we're gonna see probably two mythical Zoans go at it. Saturn, the mythical Zoan, and of course the Yonko, Luffy, the Nika no Mi, known as the Sun God Nika. And all I can say to that is let's go. And honestly, if we can see a situation where pretty much we get these Void Century, the Gorosei from the Void Century, or the Delphos from the Void Century, these mythical Zoans, and if Luffy has to take out each and one of them, the first one being Egghead, Luffy takes out Saturn, then he takes out the next four, and then he packs them all out as the Sun God Nika, and then Joy Boy versus Imu as the final moment in One Piece. All I can say is, yeah, this chapter started a lot of theories, guys, because we see Imu's powers, we see the Gorosei powers, and they seemingly look to be legit, guys. They do not look like no slouch. They took a Fire Fist pistol from Sabo, the chief of staff of the Revolutionary Army, and Im was able to make Sabo bleed, a Logia user. I rest my case. One Piece is on fire, no pun intended.